Big day yesterday.
Yeah, they went public. Klaviyo went public yesterday. First big IPO of an ecom brand in a really long time.
I think probably since Shopify. I mean, it's a unicorn by all means, and I think they wanted to do it earlier, a couple of years back, but given the markets and what was happening in the world, they waited.
The Rona.
Yes, yes. Um, and they went public yesterday. Opened at $30 a share. And what is it, day and a half into it? A little bit more
At
than
30,
that.
32. They've gone up and down a day. Up and
Yeah.
down. They were up 5 points, down 3 points.
Have
But
you
they did it.
looked at their what's your main reaction to it? Klaviyo goes public. As I'll answer the question as an agency. I will answer a question as for the market, and you can as well. But you're a Klaviyo customer, right?
I am.
You migrated, from what I remember, from Mailchimp a couple of
Yeah,
years back.
I went Mailchimp, Klaviyo, Mailchimp,
Oh,
Klaviyo.
so why did you first time go from Mailchimp to Klaviyo, and then why did you abandon ship with Klaviyo?
So initially when we were migrating over to Shopify Plus to recharge, the email discussion got talked about, and everybody was singing the praises of Klaviyo. This is a long time ago. They were the rebel at the time, right? They weren't part of the swamp. They we went there, we had major deliverability issues. Couldn't really get straight answers from them, and we were losing revenue. So we went back to what we knew, which was Mailchimp. And we stayed with Mailchimp for a few years. We didn't go to Klaviyo until about a year and a half ago. We there were some features, functions that we wanted, some segmenting that we really couldn't accomplish anymore with Mailchimp. Our Mailchimp was better than everyone else's because we had custom integrations with it, and it was kind of a beefed up version of Mailchimp. So we had some major segments and segmenting that most people don't have. But we just wanted to go with Klaviyo. It was time, and we've been with them since. But I think, yeah, they made public. Congratulations to them, but they're starting to become, I don't know if their eyes on the ball anymore.
Yeah, I think the interesting part is I was it 10? I started to get into e-commerce, like shift from the B2B brochure websites, nothing complicated, maybe about 11, 12 years ago, maybe a couple of years before Klaviyo even came around. And I remember at that time, I mean, it was funny. At that time, MailChimp was considered a rebel because they were taking on Constant Contact.
Mm-hmm.
That was the big one in the small business sector. And then when Klaviyo came out, you had what I really liked about them. They were, to my knowledge, the first e-commerce first email solution. You had the MailChimp that kind of did it, the Constant Contacts, the Brontos of the world, all of that.
Sure.
But all of these guys were at that time pretty big, given MailChimp. I will never, ever forget the moment in the trends report, Google Trends reports, where MailChimp surpassed Constant Contact. I thought it was the coolest thing. I was like, go freaking MailChimp.
Yeah.
The monkey's on the back.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of had this resurgence of the rebels, and Klaviyo came along, and it was really cool to see that. But I do agree now. Pronto is no longer around. MailChimp is MailChimp, but not what MailChimp used to be, and they got acquired by Intuit. So that product's going to even move slower than it used to.
Sure.
And I mean, you have Omnisend right now. They're kind of mid-tier. I think they're doing well, but nowhere near Klaviyo, I don't think. By now, Klaviyo is what Constant Contact used to be, what MailChimp had become, what Bronto used to be. So, and I almost they remind me a little bit of what is the Salesforce solution? You had the Marketo of the world, and then there was another one. I can't think of the name. I think they were a Salesforce company. Long story short, That's what they are now. And now going public, my question as an agency and somebody that is going to be recommending solutions, and this is a question for you, is are they going to start answering to the shareholder and or the merchant? And I think once that shifts, tilts one way too much, I
Yeah.
think the writing's on the wall.
Well, I think they're going to have to answer to the shareholder moving forward, and looking at their financials. They're definitely going to have to answer to the shareholder.
Yeah, I mean they have a lot of cash on hand, which is good from what I remember from looking at the financials. Um, One interesting part is we spoke about it not too long ago, the Ubers of the world, and Uber getting after 14 years showing profit. Um, can they do it as well? I'm 100% sure they can, but I think with the exposure of finances is how do you get to that point when revenue requiring revenue costs you $100 million when your payroll might be $300 million, where all of these things compile. At some point, you got to start making cuts somewhere to satisfy shareholders. And I think they invested $100 million in research and development. I mean, that's a lot of money in research and development, which
What are
I'm
they?
excited about because it tells me amazing things should be coming.
Amazing things. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's wild. So maybe they are going to continue innovating, but I don't know. I feel like lately, and maybe it was preparation for going public, but I feel like they've been a little stale, and they raised prices to everyone, and even people that were originally grandfathered now are on the new pricing.
Oh, I didn't
And
know that.
yeah, so we were given a year at our negotiated pricing before we went and got moved into the new pricing.
When you switch from Mailchimp to Klaviyo, did you see a significant impact, positive, negative, to the business? I know the first time it was negative because of deliverability. The second time, has there been a significant impact?
Not significant.
Okay.
Not significant. It's they train you to during onboarding to look at things a little bit different, so we're not um we're following probably more best practices. So we're not touching the entire list as much as we used to. We're much more highly segmented. Um but yeah, I wouldn't say it's a significant up uptick, because it wasn't.
I know you
Now
have. Go ahead.
now to be fair, um it saved us money.
Okay.
Switching from Mailchimp to Klaviyo, it saved us. Um, I think annually it was maybe like $50,000. So
Wow.
it was a number big enough to justify the change. And pay and pay for itself, as opposed to expected uptick. It saved us a lot of money.
$50,000.
Mm-hmm.
I would not expect that number. I would have. I was ready for you to say $5,000 to $10,000.
No, it was
50,000.
if it wasn't 50, it was in the middle to high 40s. It was a big number.
I'm
It was a few $1,000s
I, I'm just
a month.
shocked. Like,
A month.
what is Mailchimp charging for?
They were charging us a lot. Now, to be fair, when they knew we were leaving, they sharpened their pencil. But um, I when I make the decision, and when we make the decision that we were going, like, you can't stop us.
Yeah.
It's too little, too late. Like, and it's insult to injury. It's salt in the wound when you're like, oh well, we can do it for this. I was asking for that. Why didn't you do that? Why did we have to go through the process and spend time and resources to make the change?
That's one thing I can't stand. Technology, service, whatever you look at it, is allowing somebody to pay for such a long time and then saying we can do better. And the cool part is, you probably would have thought about it if Mailchimp came to you and said, "Hey, John, you've been with us for such a long time. We appreciate it. We thought we just knocked down your price by 5%." You've been like, "What?" Like, you're proactively coming to me and trying to give me a better deal, or 10%. It wouldn't be significant, but I think maybe you would have not thought about moving to another platform is hard.
Yeah, be proactive. None of them are proactive.
Did you have I know with Klaviyo, I'm a lot more familiar with them than MailChimp. You have an account manager that I'm assuming you guys touch base with and things like that. Did you have that in MailChimp?
So we did, but not with consistency. They were. I feel like we might have swapped a few times, and the new one doesn't reach out. It wasn't, to give credit where credit's due. Klaviyo is a better experience on that side. I think one of the issues is, they definitely did some major layoffs, leading up to going public, during this downturn. And we had, I think our account manager one of the times was affected. So it wasn't a great experience when you lose your account manager and you don't know that you don't have one. So not perfect, but way better experience than with MailChimp.
Given that Klaviyo has gone public as a client of theirs, as a consumer, as a user, if Klaviyo ears are listening, what would you want them to know as they kind of go through this process and they go public?
Don't forget what got you there. I think, it's they're moving on, right? Like, I feel like be careful, because you're no longer the rebel, right? That you're no longer the cool brand. Like, you're losing that a little bit, right? And if you're not careful and you don't listen to your customers, you're not engaged with your customers, someone's gonna come and someone's gonna take your lunch. Someone's gonna innovate. Someone's gonna be more engaged with customers. They're gonna be able to turn tech around faster and new features quicker, and you'll be dethroned. And the flip side of that is coming from, I have to, I guess, choose my words carefully here. But the nuance of having to make decisions when quarterly earnings matter, it's really difficult. And sometimes decisions are more short-sighted than they should be. And coming from that world and seeing that, knowing that the challenges that they have coming ahead, I don't know. I'm tempted to short the stock, if I'm being honest.
That's bold.
I've only shorted one stock previously. I shorted Snapchat, and shorting a stock is a bold move, because the losses you could have are technically unlimited, right? But I spent about a year talking about wanting to short the Snapchat stock, and the reason it happened, the thing that occurred, we had a call with them, with our account team for advertising, and the results we were getting were horrible. They had made some changes to the algo, and we weren't getting good return on ad spend and good customer acquisition costs. TLDR, we don't advertise with them anymore, but they were trying to tell us that that the results didn't matter, and not to be so short-sighted on the results. And it was very clear it was a script that they had been told to read. Like, he was making it his own words, but you could tell, like, this was like coming from the top, and it was just a horrible approach. And at that point, I wanted to short the stock. I wish I would have then, because it took me about a year to short it, and I lost. I didn't lose, but I could have made so much money. I would have shorted it when my gut said to short it.
So it's interesting to me, and to kind of get into your head. So you're using Klaviyo. You're a Klaviyo customer.
Yeah.
I'm assuming when you shorted Snap, you were no longer a Snap customer.
I still was.
Oh, you were.
Mhm.
So
I was using them. I had stopped prospecting. We were only using them for retargeting.
Okay.
Retargeting was still effective.
Okay. So it's even with Klaviyo, you're more embedded maybe with Klaviyo than you are with Snap.
Yeah.
And what would make you? What changes would you want to see from Klaviyo, not to short term?
Um, Innovation, right? So I'm wearing two different hats here, right? There's the hat as the consumer, and there's the hat as the investor. Um, so it's two different answers. As the investor, I'm just looking at their financials and then taking my understanding of them in the ecosystem and feeling that they're up for disruption. And as the consumer, it's me shorting it has nothing to do with me being a customer. I'm a customer until someone comes and disrupts them, which I think is possible.
Okay. So talking about innovation with Klaviyo, Klaviyo's obviously started as a email marketing platform. They evolved it, did a good job with it. Obviously, what we said earlier. Then I believe I can actually I can't remember, did they acquire or did they develop their own SMS platform? But then they added SMS as a service offering. After that, I believe came mobile push notifications as an offering. Then recently, they announced reviews. They're entering the review space. And then I believe maybe not even a month ago, they announced a CDP, customer data platform. I mean, they kind of already did that, but to a
Yeah.
larger extent. Has this progression of services and innovation, is that not what you're looking for?
No. So what I'm not looking for is I'm not looking for a mile wide. I'm looking for a mile deep. What I don't like is mile wide,
Okay.
right? It just screams that they're just trying to make you sticky and stuck and try to
And
get
you,
as much and try to extrapolate as much revenue from you as possible.
yeah.
That just doesn't give me warm and fuzzies. Go a mile deep, right? Like let's talk about email. There's let's innovate there, right? You're looking at I've seen some posts the last couple of days, ironically from Senlane's conference that they had, and there was a lot of buzz about interactive emails. And I don't know if per se Senlane's doing them, but there's a bunch of platforms that I guess you can build these interactive emails in and then import them into whether it's Klaviyo or Senlane. But if I'm Klaviyo, like I'm trying to think, how can we up the email game? How can we up the SMS game? How can we up where we're currently doing really, really well and make it better? And I just don't know if they're doing that. I think instead of trying to innovate with their core competencies, they're trying to add additional competencies.
And it seems like companies that start to doing that, they tend to focus more on marketing and messaging rather than product development. In a sense, it's almost
Yeah.
like they compensate for not being able to do certain things. And I've been looking at, like, especially in the AI space now, it's an easy one, but even prior, you have these like supplementary products that I think I shared one with you that just comes to mind to me that was really cool, called Maverick, where you can basically record a message, and then say like, "Hey John, so glad you subscribed with us," and then the AI replaces your name and
I've
creates a
seen it.
video
You showed
based.
it to me. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's very innovative, and stuff like that. I think being added as these tools and aspect that teams can use to maybe more effectively market to people, I think would be great. One thing, and I don't know if Klaviyo is doing this or Mailchimp or anybody else, but I haven't ever heard of, hey, we're going to partner with Gmail from a marketing standpoint, because they have now, or have had for a while, different inboxes for different purposes. And we're going to create some rules or agreements with them that allow us to penetrate the inboxes better, but with a certain cadence and different certain rule sets, so that if I love BattleBox and I want to make sure BattleBox always hits my inbox, that those rule sets can be better created or
Yeah.
better implemented.
Yeah. Why aren't they doing things like that?
And not necessarily they're not, but we haven't heard anything.
It's true. Maybe they are.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
But if you are, even if you're just working on it, communicate it, share
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. Like, and
People are
even if it
looking.
doesn't work
Yeah,
out, they're trying, and I think that's an issue.
I agree.